Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank the Majority Leader for the trust that he has with me to be able to second this momentous, motion. Because, Mr. Speaker, as he has said, it is the requirement, it's a constitutional requirement that the President does, give this kind of report on, all the measures that he has taken and progress that he has achieved with realizing all our national values, as well as intentionally giving a progress to the country on the fulfillment he has had in his international obligations, and most importantly, giving the state of security, which is not only in terms of hard security, but also in terms of economic security, as well as other forms of security, including food security. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that this is an honor for which I wanted just to make a few comments. And I'll start my comments, Mr. Speaker, by appreciation to the fact that I found this year's address more comprehensive and more particular in certain ways. To start with, Mr. Speaker, we find ourselves this year in a broad-based arrangement. And this broad-based arrangement, Mr. Speaker, was brought by a number of indices last year, including the aftermath of struggle of young people on the streets that perhaps was leading to us losing our country. But that could be just something that was a pretext to where Kenya has been. Kenya has been facing a lot of challenges since independence, as the President did indicate here. And for me, I've always held the view that the biggest challenge we have faced as a country in a post-independent Kenya is the challenge of equalizing our country, the challenge of being able to offer equal chances for our country. Remember, Mr. Speaker, when I spoke passionately about Section Paper number 10 of 1965 that took away the rights of almost 13 current counties from developing, Mr. Speaker, it was made so because a few of us in the country, a few of self-seeking leaders in the country, have always believed that some parts of the country should develop more than others. And that's why it was very critical, Mr. Speaker, if you read the line number 12 of the President, he said that we examine the achievement of the past 3 years, results that have laid a firm foundation for equality of opportunity and a nation where no one is left behind. This touched me because it shows the fundamental vision that the President has, which is to equalize the country. And I think this was where the broad base was formed. That is there a possibility that resources, opportunities can be spread equally to individuals, to communities, and to the people of Kenya as is needed. Mr. Speaker, after that, the President went ahead in line 13 of his speech to speak about a vision that we must grow into, which he desired, and he called the country to be able to think about, is there a possibility that we can grow together, not only to the extent that our people can be able to have these equal opportunities, but also to rise to the third, to the first world, from the third world countries, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to perhaps better this language, Mr. Speaker, because I think that the notion that we are in the third world is an old-fashioned notion. But I think that the vision is clear, that can we move from the constant underdevelopment to all the constant developing country to a one that is more developed and a one that everybody can enjoy the opportunity of constant growth and becoming ever better, Mr. Speaker. And I wish, Mr. Speaker, at this point, perhaps to invite us to think about a young man who was called Walter Rodney in 1980, who was actually assassinated in Guyana because he had done some work around this concept of development and underdevelopment of the continent in large, and of course Kenya in particular, in the hands of Europe. His book, or rather the piece of work that was later turned into a book, is called How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. I think this is a brilliant book, Mr. Speaker, because in that book, Warner Rudney chose to explore what entails development. The development of the individual, then the development of the society. Because these are the indices that actually formed the bulk of the president's speech, perhaps without him knowing. Mr. Speaker, what Larudni tells us that if you want to think about development of the individual in the society, because the society must develop from the individual to the family, to the community, then from the community to what now we have as a county, then from the county to nations, then from the nation to a country. If you want to think about the development of the country, Mr. Speaker, then you must definitely start with the individual. Being able to increase the capacity of the individual and being able to increase the skill of the individual. And even then, go to the idea of having greater freedom. And this concept of greater freedom, Mr. Speaker, is something that I think that my party leader, Honorable Amolo Odinga, fought for so much. When I think about freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom of assembly, these are concepts that all entail development. But you cannot speak about development in the current world, Mr. Speaker, without thinking about the development that young people have brought into law, which is the development of creativity, development of self-discipline, development of responsibility, development of material well-being of the individual. So that when we think as a country that we are underdeveloped, we don't think of ourselves as underdevelopment of our country means no development at all. It just means that when you enlarge this from the individual going to the country, then it means that our ambition in the context of what the president was speaking about must be, how then do we push our country forward to ensure that we can increase the economic merit of our country as a collective. We can increase the economic well-being of our country, and then we can increase the human social development of our country, basically moving from the individual success to a collective success. And it is in that context, Mr. Speaker, that I want to simplify my conversation around what the president talked about, because his reflection was in simple economic terms divided into two. One was a macro view, basically looking at how has the country performed in terms of macro indices, the larger economic concept that do define our country. And I think, Mr. Speaker, I must say that factually so, the president did an excellent job in terms of highlighting this. And I don't want to belabor some of them because the majority that did belabor, did explain most of them. But certainly, when he looked back at the success, Mr. Speaker, he looked at those macro concepts that have made our economy show a strength on a national, and international stage in the backdrop of everything we have experienced since 2022. For instance, Mr. Speaker, the president did focus on line 25 on inflation, which at the time that this government came into power in 2022, the inflation was at 9.6%. But then, now it has declined down to 4.6%. These are strengths that we must be able to build on, because it basically shows that there is some proper stabilization in terms of the propensity of our people to consume, the purchasing power parity of our people to be able to interact with goods and services in our economy, Mr. Speaker. He also did indicate, Mr. Speaker, that the shilling has actually have a downward spiral from 129, from almost 160 shillings to the dollar in about 2 years ago, to now a stable 129, or sometimes oscillating between 128 and 130. I think this is a perfect representation of what's happening in the country, and indeed has been able to make our country stable. But I wish, Mr. Speaker, that the president would have also shown the success on the macro level. And the macro level, Mr. Speaker, is basically how have these things impacted the individuals in this economy, Mr. Speaker? Because if you had focused on this bit, Mr. Speaker, I believe that perhaps the speech could have been more palatable to the population. For instance, how I wish that he could have unpacked things like prices of goods and services in the economy. Because it is true and factual that when the president took over power, the price of milk, for instance, was 35 shillings in 2022. But now, the price of milk to the farmer has increased to 45 shillings, meaning that in the income aspect of a milk farmer, this government has increased 10 shillings in that pocket. If he had put that in place, I think that the milk farmer could have understood him better, instead of just the macro element that he did share. Mr. Speaker, we remember that in 2022, when the president took over the office, the coffee farmers in this country were retailing their coffee at about 65 shillings. Right now, it is factual that the coffee farmer is retailing at 110. If a farmer is getting a share of the retail price of over 50 shillings because of this, I think this should have been highlighted by the president in a way that would make it palatable to the common mwananchi. Mr. Speaker, it is also true that he mentioned that the tea earnings have increased from 138 billion to now about 215 billion. But I think that if he had debunked that by bringing the concept that that has led to the impact for the green leaf prices to rise from 50 shillings to now 60 shillings, it could have done a better job in terms of explaining to the populace that actually the impact in the income of the farmer has become 10 shillings more since he got to office. Mr. Speaker, I can go on and on, but I'm seeing, I don't know why my light has come up very, very soon. But I think, Mr. Speaker, he even talked about the element of how sugarcane industry has performed. In the macro level, we have increased production from 490 million metric tons to about 815 million now. But I think, Mr. Speaker, more exciting to the farmer is to indicate that this has actually impacted the importation of sugar that we used to have by cutting it by 70% down, meaning that this has impacted the cost of production to sugar farmers and increased even money in the pocket of sugarcane farmers. Because when you cut importation by 70%, Mr. Speaker, what it basically means is that for the sugarcane farmers in this country, we can say without a doubt that the president has managed, or the government has managed, to increase the price with which their cane is being taken, to increase the price with which their cane is being weighed, but most importantly, to increase the speed with which the cane farmers are now being paid. These are some of the macro levels, Mr. Speaker, that I think that the president did miss in his speech because he focused more on the macro level, that most of the critiques of the president's speech might have missed the impact in terms of the taste of consumer products that people are getting in this country, the impact in terms of the individual income that people are having in this country, the impact in terms of the growth level that people are having at the household level. This is where we should have focused on and made sure that the president's speech come very, very strongly. For instance, Mr. Speaker, the president indicated very well, and it is factual, that he has managed to employ 76,000 teachers. When he says that, the number looks so big at a macro level. But the people miss the fact that all these 76 teachers, all of them earn an average of probably 40,000 shillings to about 100,000 shillings. That means that he has put into the pockets of households a lot of money that is having impact at a micro level. These are the hits and misses that I think that the president should have focused on. But very quickly, Mr. Speaker, because I'm seeing the yellow light, Mr. Speaker, it was important to indicate that The President also did cast a vision looking forward with the idea of the National Infrastructure Fund, which also was backed up with what he called the National Sovereign Wealth Fund. And I think, Mr. Speaker, this is a very brilliant idea that can be able to help our country move forward. Mr. Speaker, I must comment here that this House of Senate has originated some very important bills that sometimes the National Assembly do not appreciate that they
Clerk, give Senator Eddy just 1 minute to summarize his contribution.
Yes, I was just saying, Mr. Speaker, that, for instance, the National Sovereign Wealth, the National Sovereign Wealth Fund is something that I have proposed in this House. It's a bill, actually, that is ongoing through scrutiny in this House, Mr. Speaker, that nobody has appreciated. When we talk about stabilizing our revenue structure, this is something that's come from this House that I think that it will be important that when our bills come from this House, they are appreciated, and when they go to the National Assembly, Mr. Speaker, they are supported, because they are some of the most wonderful ideas that can help this country move forward. With that, Mr. Speaker, I wish to support and second and appreciate all at the same time. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Eddy Oketch. Senator, I'm just checking, Senator Joyce Korir. Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you, Senator Eddy. Thank you, Clerk, for that clarification. Honorable Senators, having had the motion being seconded, I now propose the question